things. Ian from RTO here. Welcome to the start of the week. Got a bit of a cold, so I do apologise if I sound a bit bunged up. But there you go, it is winter. So what have I got for you today? Well, we're continuing with our look at members of the Rolling Stones that released solo stuff or had solo projects. Now today we're looking at Brian Jones. Now Brian Jones he's done more. He did some production on an album, and he played on a soundtrack that's not been officially released as a soundtrack album, but there is a bootleg version on YouTube. So we know about Brian Jones, born Louis Brian Hopkins Jones on the 20th of February 1942. He was initially one of the founder members of the Rolling Stones, played with them until '69, and shortly after he left, he sadly died on the 3rd of July 1969. So I can only find two things that he's actually been involved with. He was on singles and the odd track here and there, but albums. There are only two albums I could find that he's been sort of got a credit to. So the first one, coming in at number 2, is an album that was released in 1971, and it's called Brian Jones Presents the Pipes of Pan of Joujouka. Now this is a Moroccan group. Now I have been to Morocco, so I sort of I've heard a lot of traditional Moroccan music, so I sort of get this a little bit. So the first track is a very short thing called 55 Hamza and Hamza or Hamzeen. Now this is sort of lots of ambient sounds, which are sort of that are sort of part of the Moroccan culture. If you're not into it, you're not going to get it, but if you've heard it like I have, it's pretty interesting, the sounds and the textures. Then we have a thing called War Song Standing plus 1/2, and that came at Uanu. This has got sort of a trumpet sort of sound. It's a high-pitched trumpet. It's not a trumpet, but it sounds like a trumpet. It's shaped like a clarinet, this sort of instrument. I can't remember what it's called, but it makes an interesting sound, and it's okay. And then we get Take Me With You, Darling, Take Me With You. Now this is a very tribal thing up in the hills around the Atlas Mountains. This is where this sort of sound comes from. Okay, it's a little bit repetitive, but it's okay. Then there's a track called Your Eyes Are Like a Cup of Tea. This is a long piece. It's got quite a lot of traditional instruments. It's a bit too long, this is, but it has got lots of sort of sounds of Morocco. You listen to this, and when I listened to this, it brought back the memories of me being in Morocco. It's a lovely country. Not just Marrakesh. I did this, sort of went round up in the Atlas Mountains to the Ouzo Falls. Some beautiful places there, and this sort of music reminds me of some of like in the shops and the little markets. This is the sort of sounds you'd hear, although it's a little bit too long. Then we have a thing called I Am Calling Out. Yes, it's okay. It's just if you're not into this music, it's very hard. Some people would find this a little bit tedious, but it's just full of atmosphere. Then we have another version of Your Eyes of a Cup of Tea, and this has got a flute. There's added some flute into it. I don't know why they did it, because the other one is okay. It's a little bit longer. There we go. Okay, this album is okay in places. Okay, the two long ones are too long, but it gets the atmosphere, and I think I sort of appreciate this because I've been in that. I'd spent some time in Morocco, but for that, I think for anyone it'd be a little too much. But I find this is quite good, and you can understand why Brian got involved with it because he was into that. You know, for a satanic majesty. That's got that sort of feel that he did with the Rolling Stones. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Okay, but the other one, which is my number one, is a soundtrack he did for a German film in 1967. And it's called Degree of Murder. Now it stars Anita Pallenberg. It was directed by Volker Skuldorf. And it is made. The soundtrack was done by Brian Jones, and he got the gig because his girlfriend at the time was Anita Pallenberg. So what Brian Jones did, he got some of his friends together, which included Brian Jones played the sitar, the organ, the mellotron, the recorder, banjo, harpsichord, auto harp, dulcimer, clarinet, and harmonica. Jimmy Page. Yes, Jimmy Page played the guitars. Nicky Hopkins played on the piano. Kenny Jones did the drums. Peter Gosling did some backing vocals, and Mike Leander did the orchestra. Now, this has never been officially released, possibly because of legal conflicts. When Jones played the soundtrack while played on the soundtrack with Jimmy Page was in the Yardbirds, and then Nicky Hopkins, who was playing with everybody, so they put this together. So there are some also there's some bass on this. That it hasn't got the bass, but they say it could have been Bill Wyman, but there's a speculation, and Charlie Watts may have been involved. Now, as there's not any tracks, it's sort of the whole thing is on YouTube as one continuous bit of music. So what I've done, I've picked out a few little bits. Straight away, you know it's Jimmy on the guitars, and it's quite funky and groovy. Some great little guitar bits on this. And once you get Jimmy and Brian playing together and all that sort of, you know, all these things like the recorder and the harpsichord, there's some dialogue in it which really confuses you, but it's really good. Kenny Jones is brilliant on this. His drumming is really good. There's a lovely banjo bit which thinks like you're sitting on a door on the porch drinking moonshine. Again, it's very psychedelic in places. Very same sort of thing for the Satanic Manager's request again. It's just a very, very good soundtrack. Some great guitar work here from Jimmy all the way through. It's about 45, 50 minutes long, and I've really enjoyed it. Now, so the recording's not good. I'd just love to have this come out as a proper recording, and you know, knowing the names of the tracks and that, but because I think it would be good, and I really enjoyed listening to this. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. I'm hoping one day that someone will record it, or someone has taken it and mucked about with it and cleaned it up and split it up. So there we go. A very short one today, but you know, this soundtrack, A Degree of Murder, should be released. It's a little gem. Okay, I'll be back very shortly with a classic album, and we're going to do classic albums of the 80s, and this one they say is the greatest breakup album, and it's Richard and Linda Thompson's Shoot Out the Lights. So join me for that later. Bye for now.